guy came up to me and he said, you know, what you do, it's really dark. It's a really dark conversation. And he's right, it is a really dark conversation. And I think that's why it's been avoided, why I wear pink and why I'm quite bold and why I'm allowing myself just to be myself, is because I think what we lack when it comes to these really hard conversations is just our humanness, is just our ability to be okay with feeling uncomfortable, is okay to, you know, that you don't necessarily feel or look professional in a conversation like this. You get to just be who you are, and the colourful and the you know, all of the colours of the rainbow that I've chosen, like pretty much every single colour, is because I want it to be as light-hearted as it possibly can on something that's really, it is a dark conversation. It is a dark topic, but I want to make sure that people have some kind of comfort in it so that we can actually have that conversation. So I decided to start the Resource Podcast because I wanted this conversation to start. Didn't want to wait for anybody to give me permission or for anybody else permission to have this conversation. I wanted to learn myself about all the facets. There's such a complex issue, I think. Sexual harassment, workplace culture, and especially when it comes to FIFO. I started it because podcast is free. It's easily accessible. People can listen in the comfort of their own home without guilt, shame, or blame, or judgment, which I think is really important. If anything that comes from guilt, shame, blame, or judgment isn't going to be, there's not going to be as much progress as if you're coming from a place where you feel comfortable. I want people to feel really supported. I want them to feel like they've got all the knowledge that they can go and start really valuable conversations with friends, family, work colleagues, so that if they see something happen at work, if they are a part of something that happens at work or at home with friends and family, they feel like they've got the tools, the knowledge, they've heard something on the podcast that makes them feel far more supported in having that conversation so that they can be a part of the change. The Resource Podcast is for our future generation. It's for a younger me, it's for a younger you, it's for our young boys, it's for our young girls, so that they don't have to live in a world, they don't have to be at a workplace where they're worried about walking down a path, walking through a park, saying the wrong thing. They have the knowledge and the skills and the understanding of what is good and what isn't good, and they can get on with excelling in life.
Welcome to the Resource Podcast. I am Becky Felsted. We are having gracious conversations about heavy-hitting topics. Let's go.
I think we have an opportunity to stop incidents happening, or definitely decrease it, by having far better conversations. Once they know better, they do better. I truly believe that people, once they know better, they'll do better. So it's giving them the tools, the knowledge, and the how to have better interactions. We're having the conversation. Like I said, we're not waiting for permission from anybody else. I think we're calling a spade a spade. I say workplace culture, I say sexual harassment, and I say abuse. We're not talking just about workplace culture. We're talking about some really crass conversations, some really, diabolical culture. I think the ability that I have and the gift that I've been given is that I'm like a kid. I'm so intrigued into people's opinion or what people have learned. And I'll ask those questions. I also don't mind going in not knowing things, or maybe I'm going to get something wrong. Maybe I'm going to say something wrong. And I think that's a fear that all of us have. If we go into a conversation that's quite taboo when it comes to race, religion, you become quite fearful of having that conversation because you don't want to say something wrong. You don't want to be ostracized because you've said something that's your opinion. Even though you may be willing to learn and grow, but you're just not comfortable to even have the conversation as a start. I have this childlike intrigue of asking questions, and I don't mind seeming stupid or seeming silly, just so I can learn. And I hope that the listeners can also experience that, and that they feel comfortable enough that they can have those conversations and not know at the start, but they leave far more equipped or far more knowledgeable about a subject that they had no idea about. I've been saying this a few times, so my hope for the podcast and even this whole conversation would be amazing if the podcast was completely made redundant. Say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we didn't even have to have the podcast. People literally knew talking about consent when it came to talking about psychological effects, when it comes to what's appropriate or inappropriate behaviour or language. If we didn't have to have this conversation and we didn't need a podcast, I've done my job.